The first thing I saw when I woke up was a pair of golden, predatory eyes staring down at me. I blinked through the haze, pain radiating through my ribs and skull. The air was humid, thick with the scent of metal and ozone. I tried to move, but my arms were bound with glowing restraints that pulsed against my skin. Across from me stood a tall, striking alien woman, humanoid in shape, yet unmistakably not human. Her skin shimmered faintly, like moonlight over silver water. She tilted her head. "You're awake," she said, her voice low and melodic, but edged with authority. "Human soldier of the Terran Vanguard."
My throat was dry.
"Yeah," I croaked. "And you are?" Her sharp canines flashed when she smiled. "General Kareth of the Lyrians." That name hit me like a jolt. The Lyrians, humanity's fiercest enemy for the last decade. Their telepathic armies had wiped out entire colonies before Earth even knew they were under attack. And I, Captain Ryan Hale, had been part of the disastrous counterstrike on Theta Prime. My ship went down in flames. I thought I died. Apparently, I was wrong. Kareth circled me slowly, her gaze dissecting every inch of me. "You fought well," she murmured. "Few humans last long enough to be captured. Most burn or run." "Lucky me," I muttered. "Lucky," she echoed, almost thoughtfully. "Or perhaps foolish." She stopped in front of me, her eyes narrowing. "Do you know where you are?" I looked around, sleek metallic walls, humming conduits, strange alien symbols glowing across the floor. "Somewhere I'm not supposed to be?" Her lips curved. "You're aboard the Eternal Veil, my flagship. You're the first human to set foot on it and live." I stared at her, trying to steady my heartbeat. She was testing me, gauging fear. The Lyrians were rumored to feed on fear, or at least draw strength from it through their psychic resonance. The more you trembled, the more powerful they became. But something inside me hardened. Maybe it was the exhaustion, maybe the pain, or maybe I was just done being afraid. "Then congratulations," I said hoarsely. "You've got a guest." Her eyes flickered. Confusion? Amusement? It was hard to tell. "You do not fear me," she finally said. I met her gaze. "Should I?" That made her pause. The hum of the ship seemed to still. For a moment, her expression softened, almost curious. Then she turned and left without another word. A strange understanding. Days passed, or what I assumed were days. The Lyrians didn't keep time the same way humans did. My cell wasn't a dungeon exactly, more like a containment room. It had breathable air, synthetic food, and even a small viewport showing the endless sea of stars. Kareth visited often. She asked questions, not about strategy or weapons, but about humans. What we felt, how we dreamed, why we fought. "You burn your worlds to save them," she said one day, standing across from me, arms folded behind her back. "You fight wars you know you cannot win." "Why?" "Because we don't stop," I replied. "That's what makes us human." Her silver brows knit together. "Even when death is certain?" "Especially then." She stared at me for a long time. "Fascinating," she whispered, almost to herself. Over the next few encounters, the tone changed. The interrogations became conversations. She shared fragments of her own world, of the crystalline cities that floated in Lyrian skies, of the songs their people sang through their telepathic network. She confessed that she'd never understood humans. "You are chaos," she said once, "and yet there is beauty in that chaos." I couldn't help but smirk. "You're starting to sound like a philosopher." She shot me a look that might have been a glare or a blush. "Do not mistake curiosity for weakness, human." I raised an eyebrow. "I didn't say it was weakness." She looked away. "Then what do you call it?" I hesitated. "Interest. That silenced her. It was strange, the way our exchanges evolved. The walls that separated prisoner and captor started to blur. There was still tension, yes, but not all of it hostile. One evening, when the ship entered orbit around a red-tinged nebula, she asked something unexpected. "Why are you not afraid of me?" The question caught me off guard. I looked up from the ration I was pretending to enjoy. She stood in the doorway, her armor gleaming under the crimson light. Her face was unreadable, but her eyes, they were searching, almost desperate for an answer. "You've seen what I can do," she said. "You've heard what my kind does to your kind. Yet every time I approach, you smile. Would it make you feel better if I screamed?" I asked softly. Her lips twitched, but the humor didn't reach her eyes. "It would make you normal." I took a slow breath. "I guess I'm tired of being normal." She stepped closer, the faint psychic hum between us growing stronger. "You truly feel no fear." I met her gaze, steady, honest. "I've seen too much to be afraid anymore. I've watched friends die, worlds burn, and promises break. You're not the scariest thing in the universe, Kareth." Her eyes widened slightly at the sound of her name. "So what am I then?" she whispered. I looked at her. Not the general, not the alien conqueror, but the woman beneath the armor. Someone who's tired too. For the first time since I'd met her, she looked away first. The escape and the choice. A few cycles later, alarms blared through the ship. Red lights flashed, and the psychic hum in the air turned sharp and violent. Kareth burst into my cell, armor half-fastened, her eyes burning with command. "Your people found us," she snapped. "Your fleet is attacking the Eternal Veil." I stood instinctively. "Then let me out. I can help." She froze. "You would fight beside your captor?" "I'd rather fight than burn," I said. "And I don't want to owe you my life twice." Something passed through her expression, disbelief, then something deeper. Without another word, she pressed her palm to the door panel. The restraints clicked open. "Follow me," she ordered. The corridors erupted in chaos. Lyrian soldiers moved in precise formation, psychic pulses flashing from their weapons. Human fighters swarmed the outer hull, and explosions rippled through the ship. Kareth moved like a force of nature, every motion fluid and deadly. We reached the command deck, but a human missile had already pierced the outer defenses. The hull began to collapse inward, sparks flying like rain. "Kareth," I shouted over the roar. "You have to evacuate." She spun toward me, face illuminated by the burning light of her dying ship. "This vessel is my home, my duty. Then die for it later." I yelled. "Right now, live for something else." The deck cracked open. Without thinking, I lunged forward and grabbed her arm, pulling her toward the emergency pods. For a moment, she resisted. Then her grip tightened on mine. Together, we dove into the pod as the Eternal Veil disintegrated behind us. Through the viewport, we watched the wreckage scatter into the void. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The only sound was our ragged breathing. "You should have let me die," she whispered finally. "Not really my style," I said. She turned to me, eyes glimmering with something like disbelief or gratitude. "You risked everything for me." "I told you," I said quietly. "I'm not afraid." Her gaze softened, and her psychic aura, usually sharp and electric, pulsed with warmth. "I begin to understand you, human," I asked, half smiling. "And what's that?" She leaned closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "That your strength does not come from your power, but from your heart." Ending. The truth. The escape pod drifted through space for hours, maybe days. Eventually, a Terran rescue ship found us. The crew rushed to my aid, but when they saw Kareth, The enemy general. Weapons were raised instantly. Stand down, I barked. She's under my protection. The commander stared at me like I'd lost my mind. Captain, that's General Kareth. She's responsible for. I know who she is, I interrupted. And she saved my life. Kareth stood still, unarmed, silent. Her golden eyes darted between the soldiers. If you wish to kill me, do it, she said calmly. I am ready. But I stepped between them. No one's killing anyone. It took hours of tense negotiations and higher command clearance, but eventually they agreed to take her as a diplomatic prisoner, one who would be questioned, not executed. Before she was escorted away, she turned to me. You said you would tell me the truth, she said quietly. Why were you not afraid? I hesitated, then smiled faintly. Because fear only controls you if you let it. You asked what makes humans fight. It's not courage or madness. It's choice. She tilted her head.
Choice.
Yeah, I said. The choice to stand up, even when you're outmatched. To help someone, even when you shouldn't. To care, even when it hurts. Her lips parted slightly. And that is the truth? The only one I know, I said. For a moment, her psychic aura flickered, bright, warm, almost like sunlight through water. She reached out, her hand trembling, and placed it over her heart. Then perhaps, she whispered, I will learn to choose, too. They led her away, but her gaze lingered, a final glance, filled with something unspoken. When the door closed behind her, I finally let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. I'd gone to war expecting to die. Instead, I'd found something far stranger. An enemy who saw humanity not as prey, but as a mystery worth understanding. And maybe, just maybe, that was how peace began. Not with victory, but with a single moment where fear no longer ruled either side.